We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a 3rd grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the mountains. Good evening in the central. Good evening all over. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparations perspective, bringing you those freezing hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our votes, socializing our suffering. Hi, The Rock. I see you, family. Welcome, Twitter Space. Welcome, ScrewTube. Welcome, Racebook. Welcome back to As the World of Freedmen Turns. I'm super excited to have my guest here from the Northeast to talk about the Boston Reparations Task Force. Oh, we coming up off this bottom. We coming up off this bottom. They should have never let us find each other. The Reconstruction report, I see you, family. Congratulations, Boston is definitely in order. I do have some concerns after what I just saw on film from the Advice show. But we're going to chop it up with the family and see how they managed to get this done out in Boston. We know how racist Boston is. We're going to talk about all that. So without further ado, yes, a shout out to Antonia. Absolutely. Shout out to Solidarity. Okay. That's the org that's out there getting it done. And I'm so thrilled. Antonia Edwards has been here before, y'all. Hi, Diane Scott. I see you, family. Yes, let me know where you are streaming from when you come into the building, when you come into the chat. Y'all know y'all my co-hosts, right? Let me get the banner going. Please, family, like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. All right? This is so invaluable because this is the way we teach each other how to get the reparations done near you, how to get it happening, how to get it cracking, how to get it popping, right? This is how we come together and we share. Hi, Bootney. I see you, family. We share so that we can all get the reparations. Because let me help you understand something. It's going to happen with or without you. So you either going to be at the table or you're going to be on the menu. That's how that's going to work. Period. Full stop. Okay. So without further ado, let me bring up my illustrious guest. I think I lost JAYLYNN and Antonia or James. If y'all could text her, I don't see her down here in the lobby anymore. So please come back in the building. We'd love to hear her weigh in. Introducing Antonia Edwards and James Keat. Stand by, family. Let me bring them up. Uh-oh. Let me make us
Hey, everybody.
Hey, what's going on,
Good
everybody?
evening. How you doing?
Oh, thank you so much for being here, family.
Pleasure to be
We
here.
are so
Thank you.
excited. I've been kind of doing a tour de force. Well, we just had Minnesota. We had Trey Hearn Cruz, who's getting Minnesota. Actually, it's St. Paul.
St.
That's
Paul's.
the city he's getting reparations done for in Minnesota. We just had his hearings live. Hi, Yaira. I see you, family. We just had his hearing live yesterday, and the day before he did as you guys are doing now.
Hey,
Yes.
JAYLYNN's in the lobby. Don't mean to interrupt.
Uh-huh.
JAYLYNN's in the lobby. Don't mean to interrupt.
I don't see JAYLYNN. Is she in the lobby?
She says she's in the lobby. JAYLYNN.
Oh, there she is. Okay, I had to scroll down.
Oh, there she goes. Thank you.
Okay. Turn your camera
There
on.
you go.
We can see you, sweetie pie.
Hey y'all, sorry about that.
Oh, that's
I was
okay.
like,
Adjust your camera.
yes, I got you.
It's
Sorry.
cutting you. Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just excited to have you guys here to share with my subscribers about the amazing work you're doing. Not
you.
many people know because there's so many grifters out here.
Oh my
claiming
God.
to be
Shut up. Oh man, you can't even believe.
You don't even imagine.
You,
Oh, yes, I can.
Yeah.
No,
I've
we can't.
been seeing it too. And this is what I love about you guys being here. They get to see the original co-founders of the contemporary reparations grassroots movement in the building. Antonia has been on my much earlier episode, much earlier broadcast. She's actually in the archives from when we all came together all over the country to create the former ADOS movement.
I remember that. Yeah.
James, I know you. JAYLYNN's fairly new to me, but James, I remember seeing your name back in the gap too.
That's right.
So
That's right.
to see you guys here, I have to show my people, my 1,600 subs, who is really to be credited for this work, who managed to go through the breakups and the fallouts and remain standing, remain rising from the ashes like the phoenixes you guys are. So without further ado, Antonia, give us a little background, and James and JAYLYNN.
So let me just explain some background information. James, Jonathan, and I created Solidarity with a capital D and namesake for Dr. Darity. We've been a communication, community engagement group for 3 years now. And so we're in the community. We do community engagement. We go to events. We, pass out information. We also provide Dr. Darity's books. We were given a hard copy book first, and now we're given the second edition. And we thought that by doing so, that would keep people engaged with us, and so that we can pass on the word about reparations, and that was the blueprint. Jonathan Bryant is one of the other co-founders. He's not here. He told me recently he doesn't feel too well. So Jonathan, and James and I are Solidarity. We collaborated with the U.S. Freedmen Project over the last couple of months. We thought it was really important to collaborate with that group, and especially for the namesake, American Freedmen. JAYLYNN is a newer person on the team, and we just collaborated with her since probably about maybe September, October, maybe about that long. And let me tell you, it was something that was really valuable to me. I don't think that James knows that I purposely chose to work with him because he represented the younger version, the youth. And so then when I talked to JAYLYNN, it struck me as being something even more necessary because she's that younger youth between 18 and 25. And so we just want to have diversity in our group because we want to make sure that everybody's represented as far as age and as far as what their perspectives are. So it's Jonathan, James, Antonia, and JAYLYNN.
I love it. I mute my mic because sometimes there's a little feedback.
Yes.
That is super, super exciting. I thank you guys for continuing the work and just doing amazing things in the Northeast. Now, you guys cover Boston, Connecticut. Is there any other place you represent?
No, just Boston and Connecticut. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and James and Jonathan are from Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut for 5 years, and that's how we met. So we really try to consolidate and work on those two areas. I did a lot of legislation work in Connecticut. Racism is a public health crisis. I was on that bill. Senator Amwar put in to study the historical context of those who descend from Black chattel slavery. You okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
One of my pictures fell. Never mind.
Okay. So in that bill, we got Senator Anwar to add in to study the historical context of those who descend from Black chattel slavery for racism as a public health crisis. James and I worked on DSEG Connecticut. Connecticut was very segregated. There's 8 counties and Black people only live in 3 other 8, and there's no multiple dwelling in the other areas. So Black people are condensed in those areas. And then the final one was in honor of my grandson. It was an act concerning children's mental health. It was very important for me to do that because of the discrimination, implicit biases, and racism for Black people who are seeking mental health, especially for their kids. So those are the 2 legislations that I worked on in Connecticut that my name is on, or the Solidarity's name is on. And then I got a proverbial phone call in July from my mom. She was like, you ever think about coming back home? And I'm like, oh, there we go. So I've been actually in Boston since July. July through August, it was just getting reacclimated. We gave our first event in September. We gave it underneath the U.S. Freedmen Project, also with Solidarity as a community engagement group. And that's when people in Boston first heard about American Freedmen. And I can tell you, they had not heard about it. And I was kind of like shocked that there was no reparations work going on with the lineage base. I mean, there was reparations work going on, but not lineage based. I met Reverend Kevin Peterson. He was at New Democracy. I also met Aziza and finally Saskia. Saskia is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She's with MRCC. And then we have JAYLYNN. So we teamed together. I did a petition for the mayor, and I had my stipulations as to what we wanted. And in that, we wanted a task. We didn't want the task force. We wanted the commission, 15 people. We wanted the executive director to descend from chattel slavery, American freedmen. At that time, everybody was vying for that position because it was $50,000, $100 an hour. We thought it was really important that the person who is the executive director of this task force or commission descends from chattel slavery. Also, we asked for 70% of this task force commission be those who descend from chattel slavery. I want to say that we try to keep people abreast of what was going on along the way. So all of a sudden, we just decided to go to the city hall to pass out the petition, a letter to the mayor in person because we had emailed it to her. But then we met with the actual city councilman. We stopped a potential takeover just out of the blue. I swear to God, we just happened to be there, and we found that they were going to secretly vote on it because they vote at 12 o'clock every Wednesday when they meet. So we stifled that because all the city councilmen was like, what are you talking about? We didn't know this. Nobody told us this. So they created some kind of distinction. So we left and we set up a press conference for that. That was the 7th, for the 12th. And to let them know that we're serious about having this lineage-based information put into the to the ordinance. The actual hearing was on the 14th, and that was the last possible day for a hearing before the session closes. And we knew that they were going to vote on it. So we rallied together. We got people together. JAYLYNN, I went to City Hall. And basically, I went around to all the Caucasian city councilmen because our council people, there's 13 on the board. And of that, 5 are Black or of color. And so we found that none are American freedmen. We have Hispanic. We had 2 Hispanic. We had 1 from Haiti. We had 2 from Cape Verde, 1 from the Dominican Republic. And they really didn't know why it was important to have this information. And I could tell when I sat down and talked to them. So we just wanted to assure ourselves, if they had changed their mind, that at least we talked to the white city council people to let them know that this bill, if they put it through, with 5 of Knock and Cobra's people in it, and also have them control the narrative, that the Black American descendants and the American freedmen in the community would be very disappointed, and it would cause disruption. And it would do that because they're touting it in these municipalities as though people are going to get cash reparations. So it's very misleading. And also, there's no American freedmen representation. When I sat down and I talked to the Caucasian city reps, they were really thankful. They was like, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We kind of figure out what's going on, and we really appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, coming to, you know, basically to let us know. Because I told them, if you vote this in, there's going to be problems. Black people in our community aren't going to think that other Black people had the power to do this. They're going to look to you, and they're going to blame you for taking the reparations or the programs and giving it to the Pan-Africans, the Knox and the Cobras, and doesn't benefit them. And so that's how I was able to change things around and get it to our benefit. So that was at 11 o'clock on the 14th. And so the hearing starts at 12. So by the time 12 o'clock came, we were really nervous. We didn't know what was going to happen. So they clicked together. And if you look at the recording, Aurora, who is the chair for the city councilman, announced that he wanted to make it perfectly clear that this bill will primarily be focused on those American freedmen and those who descend from chattel slavery. And that he wanted to make sure that context was put in there. It seems like a lot of people are really concerned because they can't see it, they don't understand it, and some things have to be like straightforward for people. And I just want people to understand that this was the last meeting before the end of the year and the holidays. They go back into session on the 4th. So the political analyst writes these amendments in. So it's quite possible that the system is not updated. I look myself to see if the amendments are there, but we do know that this has to be done, and they go back into session on January 4th. And I just tell them to refer to the recording, because once you make a statement in city council, it's recorded and it's unanimous decision. That's what they voted on. So to me, it's more about what was said, what was recorded, and what was voted on. And so they definitely reference American freedmen. They definitely reference those who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. And they definitely mentioned the fact that the board should be comprised of those who descend from chattel slavery. And so JAYLYNN was there. I mean, it was really historical in Boston. Boston is the most racist city in Massachusetts state in the nation. Right. And I have so many lived experiences that I can tell you that this was really monumental for me as a person. But I also want to share it with somebody like JAYLYNN, because, you know, she was very instrumental in helping me getting this stuff out. So we sat next to each other. We're very happy about what we accomplished. It was touch and go. I had to be a shot caller at the last minute. I conferred with my 2 partners, which is James and Jonathan, on the phone. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I just went with my gut feelings as to what needed to be happen. And I just did the best I could. And I'm just so happy that I took all the information from the things that I see that are going around the nations, whether it be in Evanston, Illinois, whether it be CJAC and, you know, NASD and the California Task Force. And I took all of that and I just made it into something positive for Boston. And I definitely knew that I wanted to have American freedmen / Black U.S. descendants of chattel slavery, just in case they messed it up. I knew I had to get that in there. And I also wanted to make sure that the board that's there, the committee that's voting on this stuff, does not represent us, because most of the people hadn't gotten here until after 1965. I called it egregious and inappropriate for those to make decisions for us, because they don't have our lived experience. And that also, when you talk about, they labeled it the transatlantic slave trade. I thought that it was very egregious that they would label that and totally exclude us. I want to make sure in an indirect way that Knockin' and Cobra were trying to control the narrative. And I got what I wanted, and I can't ask for anything better. And I just really am proud of the fact that they listened. You know, they listened because I use logic. And one of the biggest things that got me to be in that position to negotiate with them was that I said, me on press conferences, me as a Black woman, Antonia Edwards, could never sit on the AAPI or a Native American or Jewish task force and control their narrative. So why would it be appropriate for anybody other than, you know, a descendant of chattel slavery that's Black or American freedmen to do the same? And that just hit home, because our mayor is, she is, what is she, JAYLYNN? She's
a Taiwanese immigrant.
Taiwanese. Right. So that was really something I want to strike hard with her, because they just fought to have anti-black bill, disaggregated bill, anti-hate bill. So to me, I couldn't sit on those task force and boards and make those decisions for them. And so if you want to have your rights exercised, I do as well too. So I'll rest for a minute. I'll let JAYLYNN talk because she was there. I think it's really important that we connect with our youth and get them involved because it's really important that we sit side by side. So I'll rest for a second.
Yes, thank you for having me on this page. And I just wanted to say, when I won't go into the Twitter spaces, DJ be shouting you out. He'd be like, "Oh, get with reparations perspective. Make sure y'all go check out her channel." You know what he be saying? Get in the jumbotron. You know what I'm saying? That's his voice. But yeah, he's the one that told me a lot about you before I even came on your show.
Oh,
so
I love DJ Segwan. Thank
yes,
you.
yes. So shout out to him because he was the one that told me about you and to get at the jumbotron, watch your videos and stuff like that. Get into your channel, follow you, even on Twitter. So I'm really glad to be here. I'm glad to be around all of these great, amazing folks. And for me, it was just amazing to be there. But also, you saw the agents. We have to admit, the agents were a bit upset. And when agents don't get their way, they start making up mean faces. Like, those mean faces like grandma used to do, but it would just boom. You were gonna like get it. Like it was just something about it. But yes, like when we just went in there and we didn't know what was gonna happen, but when the first chairman had spoke that this was gonna be for American freemen, US descendants of American child out of slavery, that was amazing to hear. And I didn't hear a nay, which was great. Okay. I did not hear a nay. I don't think. Did you hear a nay? Exactly. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It was unanimous.
Exactly. And it was and what I do myself is I go to college and I go to a PWI, and I'm gonna just wake this up about Boston. People say, Boston, Massachusetts is the most racist city, state, but they don't really know how complex that racism is just necessarily yet. I'm raised here. My mom and dad, they're Black American. Their parents they migrated up here from North Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, Mississippi. So my people, we've been here since the 40s, as long as I know, and did the genealogy and the lineage. So, one thing I do appreciate here is our history. Like I used to live in Charlestown. We fought the 1776 Civil War to leave the British and make America. So we built the George Washington Monument. That's actually there right now. We also constructed the Navy Yard. So there's a lot of things we have contribute as an infrastructure to this city. And it's crazy how like they don't respect that. And it's like we get treated like bad. And every time when we want to talk about us, we're not talking about a Jamaican. We're not talking about a Trinidadian. We're not talking about a Hispanic or a European. We're talking about us. Why is it always an issue for us to talk about our lineage and who we are? We're not telling a Jewish person, oh, you can't talk about being Jewish. We're not saying that. So I'm just confused as to why can't we talk about who we are, and why is it a problem when we're owed something and we want to fight for it and we need it because our racial wealth gap in here, as they listed pre-COVID, was $8. That's crazy. And I feel that $8, like I'm young, I don't have much. But I'm gonna say this, like we used to have small colleges up here, like Pine Man or Newbury College. They had like big good sized populations of Black students. They closed that down. They limited our resources to people like me. So they push us to these PWI institutions. They want us to be indoctrinated, but hey, I gotta be on code 24/7, right? Because now because of with the 1966 Immigration Act, that just hit us hard. Like I that just hit us too hard, and I feel it because I grew up with second and third generation immigrants, and I'm gonna tell you, their children are lazy. I don't care what no one says. I had to work with them this fall semester. They were being lazy. They refused to doing the work. I snitched onto the professor and I'm like, hey, she's not doing the work. She's not doing what she needs to do. And while I have to work triple times as hard to get the work done. And the reality is when we get called lazy and people say we refuse to work, we don't work hard. That's not true. I have to work hard because I don't have no wealth or no ownership, right? And you do. So we're stuck having to combat white supremacy, and white supremacy's been here. That's why it's been the racist city. That is what it's known for. But what makes it complex is we have to deal with immigrant supremacy from people that look like us that are anti-black. And I'm gonna be honest, we actually had to stop the violence meeting, and she was telling me about this Jamaican guy who was saying the same thing I was saying. And when I went to the meeting the first time, I offended a Haitian tether. That's not my issue. You were sitting there and you did listen, but you got triggered about what I said because I talked about who is doing the violence. Oh, and the black population. So the black population, Antonio, you want to speak to that because I think
James, let me introduce James because James has our stat guy. I just want to make sure he does his thing.
Yeah, go ahead. But I was just gonna say, and I'm gonna list land my plane, park my car at the mall. But yes, it's a pleasure being here, and thanks to everyone for tuning in, and pass this right along to James.
I thank you for being here, young sister. I am so thrilled. I can't wait to get back to you because I want to ask how you became involved as you seem to be a millennial to me. How did you become involved so young? Because I'm just thrilled that Antonia found someone as beautiful and brilliant as you to carry the torch with her in Boston. You're learning from one of the best in the contemporary reparations grassroots movement, Miss Antonia Edwards. So I want to find out how we came to be blessed with someone like you, and how do we find more like you? But let me, you think on your answer and your response. And I want to hear from James. The Rock asks, what's the Black population of Massachusetts and Boston? And then I want some background on how you came to the movement. How did you come into the fore? Go for it.
Okay, so I don't have the stats on Massachusetts as a whole, but Boston I do. So Boston holds about roughly 655,000 people. And the Black population of Boston is roughly 23%, which roughly amounts to about 150,000 people out there. And that's without the disaggregation of data. If you look at the Black Wealth Report that JAYLYNN was alluding to over there, yeah, the Black wealth is at roughly $8, but it's startling when you realize that the white wealth of Boston, the average white wealth of Boston, is roughly $247,000. It really makes that $8 really, really feel like 50 cents, you know? And the home ownership is pretty disparative out here in Boston, with 27% of Black home ownership, while white home ownership rests at nearly double at 63%. It's time for Boston to make changes that they've systematically created in the first place. To give a backdrop about myself, I'm 32 years old. I'm from Connecticut. I ran into Sister Antonia while I was trying to progress into the ADOS movement, and we seemed to really catch fire because we wanted to get our boots on the ground. We really wanted to get our hands dirty, and it was something that we wasn't really seeing from those around us, and it's like we was craving for it because we know that's the only thing that we really need to be doing out here. Is we really need to seriously putting our hands down and getting with the people, getting with the community, running down on these politicians, holding their hands to the fire and pushing this needle forward. And we've been doing that since we decided, like she said earlier, to come together. We built the name off of Professor Darity, whose work we stand on, great giant shoulders right there. And we've been pushing this movement. We've been doing everything we can to push legislation, to be in these talking spaces, to run our campaigns, to run our events, to be at Juneteenth parades. We've been doing it all. We don't take donations. We don't ask nobody for no money, no handouts. This is not no money grab for us. We come out of everything out of pocket. We split it up, see what we need, and go get it accomplished. She's one of the people who always tell me, you got to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. And I think we're actually getting that done.
I thank you so much. I want to go over these stats with my family over here, the tribe, which is a nation. And I mean, folks from overseas tune in as well. You know, if they don't catch it live, they definitely catch the archive. But I want to go over these numbers with you real quick. Hold on one second, fam. My apologies, my buggy daughter. But let's go into these numbers real quick, family. This is just very disturbing. So what you see in the dark blue is total assets. And what you see in the light blue is net worth. Now, white folks, this is the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston reporting on these numbers. White folks, total assets in, is this Boston? Or yeah, is $256,500 as compared to $247,500 in terms of their net worth. Total assets, again, $256,500. Total net worth is $247,500. When it comes to U.S. Black or American freedmen, now, mind you, our ancestors built the country. Our ancestors, heinous chattel slavery, built this country. U.S. Black in Boston's total assets is $700. They are $800. I'm sorry, they're $8 with respect to net worth. Again, total assets for American freedmen in Boston is $700. And their net worth is $8. Let that sink in.
And so can I
Yeah,
just also mention the fact that gentrification has really pushed Black people out of our traditional neighborhoods. I live in Roxbury, and Roxbury has always been predominantly Black. And like in Boston, you can tell where you are by the people in your neighborhood. So the Italians in the North End, the gays are in the Back Bay, the Blacks are in Roxbury, some parts of Dorchester, some parts of Mattapan. The other side of Dorchester is Vietnamese. We have Chinatown, like New York. It's predominantly all Asian. And then South Boston is Irish. So historically, everybody's had their own place. It has gotten so bad to the point where a one bedroom is $3,900 here. And so like being back home, like they built 2 condo buildings in the back of my mom's building. And my mom has been here for like 50 years. The minimum income to even get in is $100,000. You have to have 50, 60, 80% AMI to even be considered. And so it's really pushing our people out of the communities that we're in. And so with those numbers at the wealth at this point, we just cannot maintain. We just cannot. And it's just really sad. Extremely sad.
And so, family, what Miss Edwards is describing to you is our total erasure and replacement.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly what's happening when you're listening to horror stories about gentrification, and then you see the total assets as compared to the paltry net worth of Blacks in Boston. This is happening all over the country. I have shared with you guys, let's look at the Caribbean Black. Their total assets is $12,000 with a net worth of $12,000. Now, of all the immigrant groups, they have the most wealth in Boston, and yet these are the very groups that are fighting us for our reparations.
Exactly.
And so what I also need you to understand is that just like out here, when I share with you guys that American freedmen in California, liquidity was 200. African Black out here was 60,000.
Isn't that amazing?
So I need you guys to start to understand the data and why we are at DEFCON 4. This is a 911. We are in a state of emergency. Okay? We clearly are. And this is why we need more hands on deck. Going down the line, Puerto Rican, $3,020 in total assets, comparable to their net worth. Why are these immigrants doing far better than American freedmen? Because this government is weaponizing immigration against American freedmen to erase and replace us by keeping us tethered to the bottom of this Titanic as the anchor of this country's capitalism. You must understand what is intentional by this government. Next, we've got Dominican, $1,724 total assets, zero net worth. And other Hispanic is $15,000 total assets to $2,700 net worth. These numbers are diabolical. And before I get back into our exchange with our guest, I want to show you one more harrowing video of the racism that they speak of in Boston. This is a councilwoman whom you guys may know at a city council meeting. Let me give you her name. I just saw this on Phil. Shout out to him from the African Diaspora News Channel. I'm just going to share her segment so you can understand the magnitude of the uphill battle it is for our illustrious guest to get it done. Now, it doesn't mean it's not comparably hard even out here, because we've got ages of chaos, some American freedmen, some immigrants sitting on our very own task force. But I do want you to see it with your own eyes, what I just bore witness to in this particular video. Stand by, let me share it. And then we can talk about this and the battle you guys are going to be in. Let me back it up just a little bit.
City of Boston.
Councilor Braden, a white woman, has it that now that this body, because councilors, for example, all the white councilors here stick together, that they will vote or try to move the districts in a way that is not diverse sufficiently to be able to vote in electives of color. We have fought for a very long time. It is 2022. We're going back and forth about allegations, but here, people are not innocent until proven guilty. People are guilty first. People are crucified. People are lynched. Same old tricks, same masters though. And still, people, now everything's changed and everybody's upset. Everybody is boiling up. People are calling me and telling me, don't say anything, stay in your lane, be quiet, sit down, you will lose your seat, they won't vote for you. Fight, don't fight. What the f do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a Black woman? And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not afraid of losing the votes. I'm not afraid of the seat. I'm not afraid of anybody here. This is the message that I got.
Don't forget this country is built with white people, sustained by white people. The presidents all back in the day were white. If you don't like it, why don't you take your ass back to your shithole with your stupid ass scarf on your head, you ugly fucking hoe.
This is what I get. I get about 3 or 4 of them in my office. I have 2 sons, I've made mistakes, and once I learned it, I corrected immediately. Because I made a stupid mistake. Because I brought people that were loyal to me. I had 6 staff, as of yesterday I have 4. That is clear for everyone to understand. When I make a mistake, I will be clear. I don't hate you as a white woman. I don't hate you as a white man. I am sick and tired of this body so stupidly racially divided, so afraid, so depraved. People with no faith because they are afraid of their losing their investment. They're afraid of bargaining. They're afraid of leveraging. These people have oh my God, I can't even call you cowards.
Now, you know, this sister's been going through it because you can feel her.
Who would like to weigh in on what we just observed?
I most certainly would. So listen, Tanya Anderson she's a queen. And I can honestly say my conversation with her out of all of the city councils rang bells. She grew up right down the street from me. She's from Cape Verde. She's obviously, Muslim. And she's faced the same adversities that I have, other than the fact that she descends from Cape Verde. She is highly upset that she is not respected. And I think that what happens is most people who come from the African diaspora or from the Black immigrants don't understand why they've been so discriminated against. They don't know our historical context. They feel like I grew up in the hood. I had a rough life. Why am I being treated this way? And I think that it's stuff like this that they see that you're Black first in America. They don't care what country you come from. They don't care what island you descend from. And a lot of Black people are now seeing that they migrate from different islands, different countries. And so that was my point when I made my round, was that there are 5 Black people to the white America that sits on this task force, but none of you represent our historical context as far as being descendants of Choctaw slave or the formerly enslaved. I respect her highly. I love her because she was our number one cheerleader. She, I can honestly say that. Other ones were more like, oh my God, I didn't know. Oh, wow. Okay, now I get it. Like they had no concept of history prior to them being here. The 2 problems that I had, and I can say this with great conviction, and I have receipts. There are 2 Hispanic people who sat on the city council who were staring. They were being puppeted by Narcan and Cobra. I just felt like it was disingenuous, egregious for 2 Hispanic people to control our narrative with regards to reparation. And so Miss Mahina, her name is Julia Mahina, she actually is a rep in our area. So she touts I am a revolutionary. She wears a beret. She looks like the female at Fred Hammond. And that's his cosplay to me. And so she's in the community. So that's how she feels like she can connect with Black people. However, she was very ready to vote in the original ordinance that had 5 Narcan and Cobra agencies on it. And then the New Democracy Coalition, which is Mr. Kevin Peterson, is the only one that I can relate to being close to American freedmen. And it just seems as though I've never heard of like organizations and executive directors being pre-appointed in an ordinance. It's just egregious. I never heard of that before. And I sit on 10 boards. So the things that they were pulling off, that they were going to get away with the week before, that we stifled, were just egregious. We also found out after we left that meeting that she was disheveled in the meeting. I thought that she knew something we didn't know, because I read faces and body language very well. So if you look at the recording, she was very disheveled. Her face was red. She had on the burgundy beret, the cape. And I was like, why does she look so dysfunctional? And we found out the night before she had a DUI, not DWI, but DUI under the influence. They thought it was alcohol and cocaine. So she's now spinning and spiraling because everybody's attacking her because of that arrest. And so she has a position with the police in our community to police accountability, transparency. And so she's built this enemy with the police officers and the code, the blue shield. So now she gets arrested or gets pulled over for being under the influence, and she wants protection. So somebody from the police department leaked it. Like, oh, now you need our help. So right now she's going, we have the receipts. So now she's going through, I'm being threatened by white supremacy. She's pulling that race card. She's like, oh my God, I can't go to work. I can't have my page open because I'm being threatened by white supremacy, as though she was an emancipated slave because she calls herself Afro-Latina. So she's just co-opting our plight. But she is one of the 2 mass puppets that were being puppeteered by Narcan and Cobra. And Narcan and Cobra were in the building. They heard our press conference. They were sitting 2 tiers up from us, and they were highly disappointed that they didn't win this. Very disappointed. So that's the environment that we sit in when you're at this close level. When you're interacting on a face-to-face level, city council, you go to meetings, you're going to, deal with the mayor. You're dealing with Narcan and Cobra face-to-face versus online, and it's real. It's real. It's a whole other persona. It's like the energy is just so disgusting. I can honestly say. I actually went to a symposium last month with Dr. Darity, and Camilla was there, and they talked about the $16 trillion that's owed. And so the Knockin' and Cobra people were like, listen, we don't care about the money. You can put it on layaway. We're talking about, social justice programs. So we was in an auditorium with all like, scholars and, professionals, white people, and some, descendants from Ethiopia, whatever, India. So they were like, joke, snickering, like, what's layaway? So the moderator, who's black, says, oh, I'm sorry for the scholars and the elitists in the building. If you don't know what a layaway is, that's when you pay for something on a weekly and monthly basis because you can't afford it. It was so disrespectful. And that's how they talk. And that's how they're just so egregious. They're so very disrespectful. And so I guess at the end of the day, I just want to share our experience with everybody to show them how you have to get on the ground. You have to interact. You have to be face to face. You have to hand deliver stuff so you can kind of know what's going on. You can't get this stuff done behind a keyboard. You can't get this stuff done on social media. But then also share this experience because we're under direct attack by Knockin' and Cobra. And those who have Twitter can listen to the Twitter space the other day with Cam, who Howard, who is the president or director of Knockin' and Cobra. And he purposely wanted to have that space so he can say, let's be friends. Let's team up together, because the only way we're going to get this executive order for HR 40 is if we're friends. And then he also warned that he was going to pretend that we were friends to get it done. So for the last 2 days, they've been sending us stuff with our names on it.
Yeah.
They just
I can
tweet today.
to that it's crazy because while she's speaking about that, Daniel Davenport is actually helping Cam Howard. So let's talk about that, because Cam says Daniel came in my inbox on Twitter, and I have the receipts. Remind you, I made a whole Twitter space reparation perspective, so you can go look on my Twitter and see the receipts that I posted. But he came into the inbox. He has a strategy on how he's recruiting. If you go to his Instagram, it even says in the bio he's recruiting young people. So now he's preying on the young. I talked to this man over the phone, and basically he was like, oh, this is Pastor Daniel. And I was like, grifter? Like, it's giving grifter? Like, you know what I'm saying? And it just turned me all the way off. He's talking about you need to move away from grassroots and come with the organizations. I'm like, we're not leaving grassroots. That's not what we're doing here. And, he just started being more aggressive in how he's standing and, just keep sending stuff. And I told this man, I don't want anything that you're offering. Stop convincing me to come join you. I'm not going to join you. And then he's trying to get disrespectful, talking about you need to respect the pastor, this and da. I said, where's your certificate? You're a grifter. That's what you do. You grift. And what turned me off about the Cam Howard Twitter space was he immediately came into the space. He was like, I am not here to talk about reparations. I went to sleep. I'm not here to listen to that kind of shit. Like, that turned me all the way off. And it was just like, it's very disrespectful. Me and Antonia and a few other people had to go to the UMass Amherst reparations to support our sister Kiera as well, because a narc and a Cobra sitting on the panel. And remind you, the white woman immediately, she pulled up a tweet from the Narcan and Cobra page that says HR 40 is reparations. And these are the terms. And so this was crazy. They were talking about this is the format we're going to use to give these people reparations. And they're trying to give African immigrants these reparations. Right. And it's a problem because they're talking about we came here and we don't have anything. And that's what they're complaining about. And now that we actually came and we spoke, the woman was like, we never had this much public speaking. And, Miss Edwards was telling him, we're going to change the verbiage from state atonement instead of reparations. And she made that very clear to him. It should not be called reparations. It should be called state atonements. And then
what I'd like to say, I'm sorry to cut you off, Jayna, because I know we only have a few times. What I'd like to say is these municipal actions are being done by Knockin' and Cobra. They're not being done by those who descend from chattel slavery. We're putting out fires. And so they're calling them reparations. As a matter of fact, Amherst's package is called African reparations. They did a study, and they did the study based on the fact that immigrants were telling them that they come to America with nothing, with the clothes on their back, they have nothing, they don't understand why they're being discriminated against. So these white people decided to do the study based on what they said, but they never spoke to us. The Amherst study is based on those who live in Amherst, which is very small percent. I think it's like 1 to 5% that may live in Amherst. Amherst is black, but they're not taking, in fact, the students that go to school there. It's a college town. There's 3 colleges. What about those students that live there that are being discriminated against or need those programs? So we're just trying to give this information out to everybody who may be starting in their cities or towns, or they see this kind of activity and jump on it immediately. Right now, there's a huge other concerted effort to put us in situations where the marketing tools are ANTONIA, Solidarity is working with, saying I black vote. That's what's on Twitter, or the reparations, whatever. And we agreed to put this out for an executive order for HR 40. And it's a lie. They just did it to NASD. They just did it to United Sons and Daughters. I mean, it's all over Twitter. They're taking our names and illegally attaching themselves to us. That's how bad it is. So we want people to be aware of that. We want people to stay away from it. We have not joined forces with anybody other than those in the grassroots network. And if we join forces with anybody, it's NASD, which is the National Assembly of Descendants of Slaves. We are not subscribing to any NARC and COBRA. We're not pushing HR 40. We don't believe in it. It doesn't have cash reparations. They don't allow us to put edits in, and we haven't asked the president for anything. So that's the end of the story that I want to say, that this is a prime example of how you can just wake up one morning and then find out that these people have a concerted effort to totally commit global larceny by stealing the reparations, renaming it African reparations, because in our ordinance it said black enslaved, African slaves. It doesn't say anything about American freedmen, those who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. They're purposely trying to get this money for them. And how they get the bag is they create 501(c)(3)s. So when the money gets dispensed, it's going to go to their corporation. And Kim said on the meeting, on the space the other day, I don't care about anything. I just want my money so I can buy my house in Africa. And that's recorded. You can look at the spaces. So people, please pay attention and please talk to our youth and educate them about American freedmen heritage. If you're not talking American freedmen and they won't let you speak about it, don't join them. It's a concerted effort to monopolize our reparations. And it would be really sad if they were able to get HR 40 passed through and all this money goes to Africa and it doesn't satisfy us, because once it goes through, we can't change it.
James, okay, I thank you, ladies. James, what do you think as a young black man about these shenanigans?
Well, I have a big problem with these shenanigans, sis, because at the end of the day, this is about our generational wealth and well-being, our capability to exist in this impressive environment as we've done so far. And to see that it's some of our own people,
Right.
It'd be different if we could say, oh yeah, Pan-African, that's his own country. So we can hush. It's not like that. It's some of these people are freedmen. Some of these people come from our families. And to see that Narcan and Cobra are going around trying to undermine everything that would be progressive for our people, I take it to heart. It enrages me. It gets me really pissed off. At the end of the day, if we really watch their movements, you will know when they're behind these legislative pieces, because they won't let the public have any input. And that's only how a snake can move in these grasses out here, is by cutting all communication and unity that's supposed to be present so that it can't have any voice. So what does it look like when our own people is stifling our voices about our own people? It's ridiculous. It's horrendous.
It's sick.
It's egregious.
It's sick.
It's sick. Yes,
Can I just say something too? I just want to make sure people understand, what I'm saying, that me, myself, I'm not anti anybody. I'm pro American freedmen. So I fight for my people. I only give facts about what other people have done to us. So I'm not on a campaign to disparage anybody, but I call it like I see it. We have Pan-Africans that are Black Americans that descend from chattel slavery that are doing this. That's what James is saying. So for instance, there are people that I purposely work with taught them the lineage that I learned and everything I learned from BDP, inside out, within 4 months. They stood beside me, put their names on a dotted line, put the logos on the letters, and now they disappeared because they didn't get a bag. I have receipts. I knew they were going to do it. You know what I'm saying? But I use everything to my advantage. But what's really scary is how do you...
Wait, I'm sorry, slow down. Who didn't get a bag? Narcan and Cobra?
No, the people who in the municipal areas, they're doing this to get a bag. They want a position, they want a job, they want to be a part of it. And so because I strategically was able to get American freedmen in the legislation and that we're primarily focused on that, they're not getting a bag. They're not going to be the executive director. Right, they're not going to be on the board, so because they want to be able to do stipends. Because I don't believe anybody should be paid that sits on a task force or commission. If this should be from your heart, this is what's right. And so for you to book or bank on a salary, you know what I'm saying, or billable hours for $100 is egregious. So I stood next to people. I got them to put their logos on my letter, sign on the. That's how I tested their loyalty. If you're really with this, you'll put your name on the dotted line. You can't be in my circle and not be with us. I'm not fighting for a combined source. I'm saying it has to be American freedmen today or nothing at all. And I got people to do that. And I did teach them everything I learned. Everything I learned from BDP, from the task force in California, I taught these people in 3 months. Okay, because these people were totally indoctrinated. How do you stand next to somebody and put your name on a dotted line, and then the day of the hearing, you don't speak to me at all, number one. And then number two, haven't spoken to me since because you thought you were going to get a bag. I even had people that walked out the hearing and told the other gentleman, you owe me. You owe me for supporting this. People were looking for bags. I'm telling you, it was ridiculous. And that's the scary part because they're in our community. They come from our lineage. So Pan-African isn't just immigrants, Black immigrants. They're our people. So I'm just telling everybody to wake up. If you're not speaking American freedmen language, if you don't respect our lineage, if you can't tout and represent your legacy like they do, I'm not messing with you.
Period.
Because you are a co-op, you're an agent. I don't know who you are. Because I'm telling you, you can't win something historical as this and be mad afterwards. I don't know. After you put your name on it, something's wrong with you. And that's what we're experiencing right now.
What I tell the immigrants is that being in this country and being far more wealthy than us, as exhibited by the graph I just shared with you guys and the viewers, is your reparations.
I'm also saying that there are us, American freedmen, those who descend from chattel slavery, that are working with the Pan-Africans because they have a love for Africa and they don't care if we get our reparations. That's problematic to me.
That. And I'm fully aware. I fight this fight out here in California. I mean, we got them on our task force, which is why I'm thrilled that you guys managed to not only get American freedmen and put the gate up for the lineage, but I'm grateful that you've got that distinction for your task force members.
Yes.
But we got Reginald Jones Sawyer out here who created a bill to undermine us.
Yes, he did.
To get the reparations proposals extended beyond the presidential race, which I believe Newsom is gearing up to run. And so he could grift off this whole task force without having to produce a thing. So Jones Sawyer tried to get that extended beyond the 24 elections. And he had the unmitigated gall to amend to try and remove specific task force people, which I believe he was coming for those who voted in favor of lineage-based reparations.
Right.
So I'm telling you, like I never dreamed, as I'm sure you guys have never dreamed, that your first fight would be freedmen and Black immigrants.
Exactly. And so they're more dangerous right now than the white supremacists. That's what I'm trying to say. So I just want to give you the speed. They go back into session on January 4th. We're waiting for the narrative as to how the task force is going to be built. We didn't want the pre-prescribed or pre-appointed Narcan and Cobra organizations in there. So those were taken out. So it's going to be a application process and everybody's going to be vetted. There's categories as used. There's longstanding community grassroots organizations. There's going to be elder. So if you fit in those categories, then you can apply. So they haven't even done the application. We just got to this point, and now we're waiting for the bill to be updated in the system with the amendments, and then we can see what they come up with as far as the process is concerned. So I'm trying to do community engagement. I think it's really important because that's what we do, is get in the community and educate them on reparations, what happened, and where do we go from here. So our first event will be on the 7th, and we're putting it together now because we think we got to jump on it immediately. And we really have to do this more so because of the Cam Howard and Knocking and Cobra indoctrination, or I don't know, recruitment for our vulnerable community, which is the youth, to get them to subscribe to their executive order. And they're also trying to pay people. You know what I'm saying? They have, I think, on one of their postings that we offer money. So our youth are very vulnerable. They need money, so we don't want them to have the wrong message. So I'm really asking for everybody in every community to get up to date on the most up-to-date educational process, whether it be from BDP, whether it be from NASD, and get this information out into our community. We owe ourselves that much. We have to be educated so we know how to play in these arenas. We have to.
Absolutely.
I mean, we cannot sit on social media all day and fight back and forth. That's not getting anything done, and we're really exposing ourselves. Like every time we talk about stuff back and forth, it's algorithms. They hear everything we say, and they're using that against us. And so I would really like for people to make a concerted effort to do something in the community, whether you hold a Zoom educational thing. It's winter up here, so people don't really want to get outside. Join the 5 Freedmen, which is a book circle group. Read From Here to Equality. Do something productive, because we are in dire straits right now. We're under attack, and some of it is by our own people.
Let me ask you. You mentioned, how do people follow what you guys are doing and get involved? That's what my platform is about. It's about weaponizing current events to keep reparations front and center in this country. Like I said, I'm competing with a lot of grifters with larger platforms in mind, but I need my people to be steered in the right direction as to where to give their time, energy, and resources. So with that being said, how do they help Solidarity?
So basically, you can follow us on Twitter. My handle is Stilettos Always on the Ground. So stilettos meaning heels, always on the ground.
Okay, hold on 1 second, because I'm in the midst of typing a note about community engagement. You mentioned the first event on January 7th.
Yes, and we'll update people. From where do we go from here?
Okay, that's the name of the event on 1/7.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be coded. Where do we go from here? Because basically everybody's asking what happened. There's a lot of people in our community just heard reparations with no definitive explanation. So I think it's our responsibility, because we were there. We made these things happen, to educate the community on the reparations process, what happened, what goes on, saying next, and then talk to them about their community engagement, and then get them ready to apply. So I just sent
723. Let me ask you, because I'm typing it as you share it with me. Where do they find out location and time for this?
We haven't together yet. We haven't put the flyer together yet, because all this happened in 1 week. So I just secured the venue yesterday. So between James and I and Jonathan, we'll collaborate on that, because we have to put certain things in place. It's going to be from 2 to 6, because we're going to put a lot in this. We have Chris from CJAC, which is the Coalition for Just and Equitable California. He's going to combine an educational piece and a listening session. We're going to have breaks, and then we're going to have dinner at the end. Then we're going to try to bring in somebody who can tell people what's going on logistically on the ground, like some of this Knocking and Cobra stuff. We want people to really be aware of the signs and symptoms of what's going on in our community. So when we put the flyer together, you'll be able to find it, because we'll blast it out all over the place. But it's going to be July 7th.
Wait,
James, I just sent you a text.
January 7th.
January 7th. I'm sorry. No, this is immediate after the holidays. It's going to be January 7th. But again, I got to put the flyer together, because I want to make sure.
But how do they follow? I need to know. I need to tell them how to follow you, so you're
going to follow me on Twitter with Stilettos Always on the Ground. That's my handle. I just text James the Facebook page, and can you drop that into the chat for them, please, or whatever, for them?
Okay. Is stilettos always on the ground? Is there an @ symbol in front of that?
NE_ADOS. The original page that I had, I just updated it. NE_ADOS.
That's Facebook?
No, that is Twitter.
Okay. So it's
James is going to drop in the Facebook page that has all of our information on it.
ADOS, right?
Right, but it's stilettos always on the ground.
Right. Twitter, stilettos always on the ground at NE_ADOS.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and
Okay.
Facebook?
The Facebook link is right there in the chat.
Okay, hold on one second.
Anybody that's just typing and looking, it'd be solidarity with a capital D.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to the chat to copy and paste. This is how we get more people engaged. Because truthfully, this is how I got help with that veto of Jones Sawyer's bill to undermine us. And this is how we prevailed.
Right.
Hold on lineage-based reparations. We couldn't have done it without the whole country, because
exactly.
California don't even know what's going on. Still, the Bunch Center got $1 million, and we still don't have this heavily advertised out here where enough American freedmen know about it. So
we plan to do a mass marketing to get this information out. We're gonna have people on the ground, street team. We're gonna get as many people as we know, you know what I'm saying, to share this throughout their social media page. But also, I'm very personable. If you call them, if you want to talk about reparations and you're serious, my email address is my name. It's ANTONIA.edwards@yahoo.
You know,
my phone number.
Sorry, go ahead.
My phone number is 757.
Don't give a number out.
Oh, I don't care. Yeah, I know how to block. I'm cool with that.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. Yeah, I'm not into all this social media texting type and stuff. Just call us, get this work done. I think we spend too much time on social media going back and forth. But that's how you find our work, by looking at social media, because we've categorized it.
This is how we made reparations a household name. I don't want us to disparage social media. It is the way that I keep reparations alive in the nation, and internationally. So, but I do get that we need a healthy balance. We need both.
We do. We do.
On the ground, and we need social media. There's no other way we could have grown. My channel wouldn't be at over 1,600 had I not been in this space, talking to the people and educating them from here in the same way that you guys are boots on the ground. I believe we need
exactly.
both.
So I just feel like, we need to do both and be able to show up. You know what I'm saying? Because that the optics and us being concerned is what we need in our community. Because people, like in the legislation office, they can't see social media when a bill needs to get done. So we being there, and a lot of people are really depending on social media versus being present. And don't get me wrong, it was very convenient during COVID, but we really need to be in these spaces. We need to feel comfortable going to the legislation offices, going to the mayor's office. We just walk up to our mayor's office. They have 2 people at the front desk. Is the mayor in? No, yes or no. You deliver your package. But when it comes to going to these people that make decisions, like the city council, they're in their offices. Hi, do you have 2 minutes? Can I speak to you? We can really do that. A lot of people don't know that because they don't have that experience, because they don't think it's available. And I just really want to get our people comfortable with fighting for their rights and interacting with the people that are making the legislation decisions. I've been doing it for quite some time, and it can be done.
Absolutely. And it should be done. And they learn it from those like yourself who've been doing it. Because it's not easy for our people that are just now coming into the fold.
No, it's not.
Yeah, we don't. Lots of our people, especially like I tell folks who need assistance. I was just telling Trey Hearn the other day, when you give a survey, it can't be buried in a website. It needs to be outlined as a call to action, and you have to help our people through that process. So it's a whole education around advocacy that has taken me a while to even learn myself. So yes, you're absolutely correct about that. I did want to ask you back to earlier. First of all, let me make a couple of statements. I do believe that immigrants, I'm not anti-immigrant. I am anti the weaponization of immigration by our government against us, American freedmen, to keep us bottom cast in the country our ancestors built with their lives. I do want everyone to understand. My favorite statement is Crayola wanton white supremacist. We must come to understand it's not just white wanton white supremacists anymore. All races have this, including ours. You can have these kind of bigots even within your own line. So it's very important that you know who the real workers are and align yourselves with them, so you don't get yourself caught up in a long-standing grift of giving money and energies in places where they're not doing the work.
Exactly. Or be indoctrinated to believe, you know what I'm saying, come back to home. Africa loves you. You need to invest in Africa. I mean, you need to find your roots. I mean, this is the stuff they're telling people. I mean, they have people, and I'm not against anybody's religion or anybody focusing on Kwanzaa. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even where I live at, when I come back and forth home like twice a month, and I really had to take a deep dive when I came back and walk around my community, they have named everything Nubian. Nubian is African. So what happened to the black, like, you know, Crispus Attucks, the Mombettes, which was the first black slave here. Crispus Attucks is the first black slave that lost his life in the Revolutionary War. What happened to the people that paved the way for us here? And so the indoctrination itself is just ridiculous. And our people have fallen for it. And they think that that's the way to get stuff done. And I just think that we need to get our people more educated and be comfortable on our own lineage and protect that interest. I really do.
Absolutely. And I do want to say this one last thing before I go to the comments and share those with you guys. They may have questions. I want you to know that HR 40 and the reason why it has not passed to date is because I believe the ancestors are watching over us.
Yes.
They see the grift happening on the Hill. These are the people, freedmen and black immigrants alike, who are seeking to undermine American freedmen reparations.
Yes.
We have been trying forever to get at our own federal reparations table on the issue, and Cam Howard and the like have been slamming the door on us. I was with NASD and CJEC when we attempted to do that. We attempted to go in there with our edits, and all the way up through Sheila Jackson Lee, she would not accept those amendments. Basically, we were pushing for money to be included in the study because every hearing they've had, they stress that there'll be no money. They're trying to CARICOM us because if you look at CARICOM, there's no money attached to that. And so every hearing they said no money and that it would be for all blacks. And so I believe that it won't pass because, you know, we are sitting up here pushing back against it. We literally, when I was with Nasty, we literally did a campaign and wrote these legislators to not vote favorably for it, which is why it failed to pass. So the reason why it's failing to pass, you need to understand this is a do nothing, empty, nothing burger of a bill. You must understand that that's why we're not in support of it. And you must stand with us in this, in solidarity, if you will, with us to say no to HR 40. If you see it come up, don't be sitting up here because I hear some of us espousing HR 40 as if it's favorable for us. No, this is going to destroy our federal claim. And so we've got other measures we're taking that I'll roll out here for you to align yourself with. Go ahead. Did you want to speak to that, Antonia?
I just want to make sure you guys understand that unlike before, they're pushing for an executive order for it. So watch out for that. We need to be ready to do counter actions. We did fix HR 40 for like almost a year with we're talking about the edits that Angela's speaking about. We really were aggressive, you know what I'm saying, in getting it struck down. But they're very desperate right now. They're extremely desperate right now. And the measures they're taking show that. Anytime Cam comes to us and wants to talk to us, that's desperation. But also with the desperation is arrogance. And so he spoke with us with very much arrogance in his voice. However, they're really messed up about the fact that Boston prevailed. Nobody thought that was going to happen. I'm trying to tell you, they were so confident that they had Boston in the bag that they were miserable when they found out that somebody just came in and just changed everything all around. And so that's why it's number one, historical and or monumental in the sense of we could have lost everything, but also because Boston is ready to make atonements and make measures to put things in place to atone for their actions. And so please be careful with this executive order. None of the national grassroots organizations is signing on to the executive order for HR 40. And if you don't hear it from us, it didn't come from us. And if somebody tells you that we're linked together, don't believe it. Send us a DM, talk to us. We'll tell you who we're aligned with. We have a master's list of all the grassroots organizations that are in our network, and we just don't sign on to just anybody. We just don't.
Could you share that master list with me, Antonia?
I would have to get it from NASD. I'll get it from NASD. Yeah,
because
it's on their website. Can I also make a suggestion? Can I make a section to everybody? Please take an opportunity to look at NASD. And James, can you put in the chat? It's naasd.org. And so if you go open up their website, they are the most foundational national organization right now that represents us. I'm encouraging people to join them in solidarity. They're like the NAACP, but even NAACP has been co-opted. That Narcan and Cobra is in those as well too. So they have everything that we're speaking about as far as the Repair Act. They have all the information about the California Task Force, and they'll also have that master list of all the networks, grassroots organizations. They're working together.
And I also think that that's what Narcan and Cobra are upset about as well. They don't have
right.
They've been at this for over 30 years and don't even have they don't even have the critical mass of organizations that we've amassed over the years.
No, that's not true. James has a list of 250 sponsors that you wouldn't even believe of in the community, like names of companies that on their sponsor list. I think if James comes back, he can tell you how many are on that list, James, the sponsors.
Yeah, I didn't know
at least 250 different and separate organizations that are sponsoring Narcan and Cobra. They had it on. Can you just give us an example of some of them?
Can you remember some of them? We're gonna give you the list. When you see this list, you're not gonna believe it. People like Johnson and Johnson, or like stuff we come in contact with every day. Catholic Charity.
They got local sports teams and stuff like that. They've really pushed their marks in tethers into different aspects of life, trying to get sponsorship. And it lets you know that they're getting funds. They're making money of money.
Right.
I thought that there was some type of scandal surrounding Cam Howard receiving funds or.
Right.
Does anyone know anything about that?
I know slightly about that. The MacArthur grant, gives stipulations on
MacArthur. That's it.
Like that. And I think he violated one of their policies.
So how did he end up being able to stay? I thought that he was going to be ousted because of that.
I think that somebody. Go on, James.
Right. I was gonna say he's the president and CEO. He's been putting in work all these years. He's guiding Narcan and Cobra into their so-called progression. They're not gonna just oust him for. They might have conflict of interest and stuff like that. And I think that's probably why he's more readily able to feel like he's able to talk to us now, because he realizes he's gonna need more than his internal support. But at the same time, Cam has no interest of being or providing a successful, comprehensive, multi-generational reparations plan. So
he said that.
If you listen to Cam in the Twitter space the other day, one of the things he said about Evanston is he did not really care about the ending result of Evanston. He just simply wanted something to happen. Okay, you cannot get behind somebody who's just okay with throwing stuff at the wall. and not caring about what's left behind and whether or not it's going to be effective. This is how you know giving him the opportunity to take what we tell him into the governmental meetings is out. That we're no longer playing that democratic rule book. That's out. We want it on face the moment we walk through this door. We're bringing it in, and I'm glad for this achievement in Boston, because that's exactly what we did there. Is we brought it straight to the table, straight to the head. We're not waiting to see anything unfold. We are guiding this ourselves, and that's what all these grassroots organizations like ourselves should be doing. And one of the biggest filters to Narcan and Cobra is us coming out of the house. The moment we step out of the house, we start participating locally. Even if you're by yourself, they can't stand it because they don't want us talking. They don't want us there. They don't want us presence. They don't want our verbiage. They don't want none of that.
Nope.
And every moment that we come out and stand together and continue to talk and open our mouths and say what we want is another thing they're gonna lose on. This is a game to them. It's a game to them, a money snatching game. Okay, he wouldn't even admit that he's part of the reason why they increased the funding in the HR 40 bill a couple years ago. He won't even allude to it because it's a bag chasing game, and he's about winning that game. This is not a game for us. We are dying.
It's our life.
This is no game. This is no
so,
game.
James, can I ask you a question? Do you have the list to give them of all the sponsors? Do you remember where we have it?
I have to go through my files because that was a while back.
It seems to me like we need an all-out effort to go after their sponsorship.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I want to give everybody the list, because the next thing we're going to do is write to their sponsors.
We need a call to action.
Yes, we are.
And let them know that they are undermining our reparations and that they should not be funding the undermining of our reparations, so we can fund a boycott of these businesses.
Right, exactly. The list is like, when you look at the list, you're like, you got to be kidding me. Like some of the stuff is just like, I would never think in a million years that they would side with them and not speak to us. And this is about not allowing us to represent ourselves. Like James says, I've been on calls and I hear a roll call. Anguilla here, Antigua here, Ivory Coast here. All the islands and countries are being represented in a roll call. And then when I put in the chat, hi, good afternoon, good evening, I'd like to participate. Or can you tell me who's representing American Freemen? And I got blocked. I got a screenshot of that. They never want you to talk at any of their meetings. That's why all their meetings are webinars. And if you're in person, they will not let you speak because it's an indoctrination. They want you to hear what they have to say, and that's it. And anything you say on the contrary is threatening to them.
But you know what else they do? They demonize American freedmen.
Yes,
they do.
Sat up here and told us when I was moving with NASD at one point. They told us that, we were trying to get in front of Sheila Jackson Lee, not that Texas haven't been trying forever. Texas Chattel Slavery, Mike's organization out there has been trying to get a sit down, but we were trying to, bring it under some friendlier, circumstances to ask to have a seat at our own reparations table.
Yes.
And he pretty much told us no, because we're this, we're that, we're the third. I mean, just
can I tell you something though? They were in Illinois in Evanston 2 weeks ago, the week before the 7th. Because one of the people that was in my was working with me here, she went there and got an award. When she was okay American Freedman before she left. When she came back, no, they gave me an award. They're great people. I had to go back to the lab. No, serious, right? So I'm serious. But they are meeting every single week. They meet at Harvard here I swear to God, if you look at your cities and states, they're all over the place meeting every single week because that's a part of their indoctrination. So what we like to do is just team up with everybody. Please stay in contact with us. Yes. We are going to do call to actions. When we do this, we want everybody to, help us out. It's going to be the Fix HR 40 or no HR 40. And then also with the sponsor list. So we just want people to be more engaged. and be aware of what's going on and learn from any mistake that we may have made. I'm quite sure there's something that I didn't do right, but I do know for the most part what I wanted was American freedmen and those who descend from chattel slavery, in the verbiage and the representation.
We are eternally grateful to you and the ancestors for being there and standing in the shoes for American freedmen in Boston. When you show up this way and you defeat the nefarious plans of our adversaries, my God, it is cause for celebration. And this is how you know God and the ancestors are really on our side, because what would have happened had they not been present to run interference? What this thing, we'd have been in the same fight.
Exactly.
What can I call about the fight going on in New York? They're trying to get reparations done, and Narcan and Cobra are interfering in New York. Who can I?
U.S. Freedmen Project.
Who?
The U.S. Freedmen Project.
Okay, that's the U.S. Freedmen Project. Okay, I'll get in touch and have them on as guests. But to my understanding, they're having the same challenge with Narcan and Cobra in New York.
Yeah, but they would, because they're in highly populated areas, but they're trying to set up shop in small municipalities. Like when Kiera gave us a call, why are they in Amherst?
Exactly.
Amherst is like a small town, so they're just distracting us and it's just wearing us down by with the manpower trying to get this stuff done. But if you don't jump on it, it spirals out of control.
Right.
Well, and I think
there should be no reparations at a local level. It should never have been at a local level.
Exactly. But my question to you is, that was the other thing I had to say before I pray us out. I wanted to ask you, what was it that you called it in lieu of reparations? I love that term.
Atonement. It's atonement at the municipal level. So I asked them to consider restitution for restorative justice, because that's what it is.
Say that one more time.
Restitution for restorative justice, but it's acts of atonement at the city level. So whether it be the city of Boston, acts of atonement, the city of Amherst, acts of atonement, it should never be reparations. Because reparations are about including the harmed party, especially if you're talking about slavery. And since they don't want to talk about the American freedmen or the descendants of slave, why are you calling it reparations? What's an African reparation? What's that? And I did say to them, not everybody who subscribes from American freedmen subscribes to being African. A lot of people don't have that historical context or that warm and fuzzy with Africa. I know I don't. My history starts at slavery. So when you say African, you're talking about those who migrate from Africa. We didn't migrate. And I'm not saying that each person doesn't have the right to, trace their roots and, be one with, whoever they descend from in Africa. But I just don't feel, this is my own personal opinion, that any reparations should be named African slave reparations or African reparations.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough. One last thing I do want my Jayla to share how, as a millennial, how does she come to find you, and how does she, what woke up in her to get active in her own lineage flourishing? Jayla, could you speak on that before I pray us out?
So basically, like, I come from a 2-parent household, Black mother and Black father. I'm the oldest of 3. So I have 2 siblings, one little brother, one little sister. So my life has been, I'm in the foster care system now. And I lived in 8 homes in 1 year. So I moved to 8 different places in 1 year. And
oh my God. Hold on, sis. I'm hearing feedback. Can you guys mute your mic so we can hear Jayla?
Yeah.
So basically, I moved to 8 different places in 1 year, as a foster kid, and I got pregnant. I had my son, so I'm a mother. I finished off high school with a diploma with my son while being the captain of the basketball team for 4 years. I go to college for free now. And I breaking my family curses. I'm the first teen mom in my family to go to high school, complete it, and go to college. And I'm proud that I can be a role model for my son, and realizing that I don't have the necessary things that I need for these specific reasons. So that made me look back into our history, and also it made me start challenging and questioning my teachers. And I was on Clubhouse and I met Morgan Malachi, and Morgan Malachi connected me with Antonia connected me with Jonathan Bryant, James, and everyone else. And Morgan's from Philadelphia. She does work out there for reparations, so shout out to her. Callie Taskas. So we love her a lot. Me and Miss Antonia, we love her a lot. And she's the reason why, like, because she takes the youth with respect. And I respect her, and it's glad to be able to talk to elders where there's a mutual respect, because all I'm just asking here is to be respected. And it feels good to have people from my lineage to respect me. And when I started coming to these meetings, I already had the knowledge of, my grandma always told me, all skin folk ain't all kin folk, right? So I always had the knowledge that we were different. So there's always been a distinction. So I always understand that going through in this movement, that there are going to be people who are not us that are going to talk and co-op on reparations. And there are going to be people who are us that are going to co-op our reparations. And it's just crazy because no other ethnic group has this issue. Why do we have this issue? And that's the biggest reason why I jumped on this thing, because I'm really good at community outreach. I'm actually in the social work club at my school, so I do public relations. So it's my job to do outreach work. So I sit on the foster care youth board of my state. I have helped, and I helped our kids and the system by organizing events for school supplies. I also spoke at events for young moms. I hosted a STEPS event for young moms too, connecting with resources in the community and things like that. So I do a lot of community outreach because I'm passionate about it. And, I love giving back to my community in Roxbury, Mattapan, Dorchester. And, we are still here and we have a lot of history. A lot of people don't understand that, but we have a lot of history. We built infrastructure here. Like, that's why it's hard for me to go live down south, because how can I remove myself from infrastructure that we have built? Like places like Harvard, they sit up there, have meetings every week. And the place that we built, but we can't get paid. This is crazy. And the craziest thing of it all, I say to that point, is my grandfather, he's been working for Harvard for almost 20 years of his life in the dining hall. He has never asked these people for a dime. This is crazy. This is crazy. I can't tell you, we still have people that are working in these places and not even asking for a dime, and they know they deserve better. I said, Grandpa, what do you want for your grandchildren? What do you think is going to happen for your grandchildren in the future? This is what we need to talk about, because I'm really affected by it. Like, how can a Arab come into the community and open up a business without a credit score? But I can't. But I have to jump through all the hoops to get what I need, work as twice as hard than anybody else, and we get called lazy. And that's the crazy thing. And I see it in school. Soon as I got to school, immediately the other kids separated themselves from me. That's just what they do. So with the understanding of that, then now you have to understand you need to find your people. When you go to these white campuses, try to find your groups, try to find your people, and also to don't be scared to talk to white people about reparations. Let me drop a jewel. Let me drop a jewel, because this is going to be important for the youth and for you guys. So let's say a white man comes up to you and he's trying to get at you, et cetera, and I ask him, do you support reparations for American descendants of U.S. child slavery? They start walking away. Use that and they're going to walk away. That's a great way to avoid white supremacy, because we have to protect our peace when we're doing this kind of work, because doing this kind of work is dangerous. Look what happened to everybody. Like when I see what happened to everybody, doing this work is dangerous. So to protect our peace of mind, I do think that's very important to just drop that gem. And I just want to say thank you for having me on the platform. And I'm glad DJ could connect me with your work and to be able to watch your videos and things like that. And I love being an advocate for the youth, because this is what we need. And I had to educate my cousin about delineation. That's the biggest thing is delineation. When she looked up the word, she was like, oh, that's what you mean. And I was like, yes, you understand we're different from Jamaicans, right? She was like, yes, you're right. So it's just like when we have the conversation with them and really say, hey, let's talk about something real. Hey, does this affect your life? And what can we do to help and support you? I think when we sit down and we have conversations like with the youth, I think that's important because we need to mend that bridge of the youth not respecting the elders and the elders not respecting the youth, because it's vice versa. So I do think if we sit down and have these important conversations, and that is the issue where Miss Antonia was talking about how we need to see more people on the ground. People don't want to step outside because we have a fear of interaction with each other.
Exactly.
And that's okay. And we just got to get back into the momentum of socially interacting with each other like we used to do. We need to have more cookouts. We need to have more family reunions. Like, bring back what we always know, how we always are a family, So I just want to say thank you for bringing me on your platform so much. And it means a lot to me to meet you and to be around all these amazing people. So thank you so much.
And so with that, I'd like to also add that it's really important that we elevate Black men in our community, and we also have them standing beside us. It just seems as though, like in Evanston, some parts of different areas, it's Black women that are at the forefront, and we're not protected, and we're also targets. And so it would really be nice to have Black men stand beside us, or we work together in the community to show that we're a united force. And that's one thing I'd like to ask for. I do have two brothers that, work with me behind the scenes. They can't always be there, but they can't do it by themselves. And so if we can ask other people to join in, other brothers, to just, be there. I'm saying you never know, I'm saying when you're needed, but especially when we're presenting ourselves in public, it would be really nice.
Absolutely. JAYLYNN, how can we support what you're doing with the foster children and the youth? How do we find you and your specific work? I'm sure my tribe would love to support you, sis. I am so proud of you.
I can send you my information.
I am too.
In the chat.
Can you put it in the chat, and then I'll copy and paste it here?
Yeah, definitely. I can send my Twitter and everything. And I'm very new to this, working with everybody, but also just watching, observing, and in the foster care system, we have to realize who's co-opting our system is the immigrants. I'm telling you, I had to get rid of my social worker for 2 years, remind you, who's a Haitian immigrant who feels like she can tell me what to do, how to raise my child, and she doesn't have any kids. So that's where you cross the respect and you cross the boundary line, and you're telling me what I need to do because you're older and I'm younger, but also there's no respect for the culture because you feel like you can disrespect me and not take the same energy to your parents. Because that's crazy. I'm a parent myself. So when we have these types of people in the system co-opting the system itself, there's 70% of Black children in the foster care system, and this is just
There are.
Yes, not others. 70% of us. So this is the sad and disheartening because we have people who don't necessarily know the culture or who we are, the history, who are still white supremacists. And also, let's raise the alarms on YouTube how these big white families would adopt all these kids and they would use 2-3 Black kids to be little puppet figures just for show. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so disrespectful because these people are taking in our children, indoctrinating them, and making them separating them from their culture. And that is why I'm trying to build programs and some reform where we can have those classes and make every single foster parent required to go to make them learn our culture, how to do our hair. You know how many Black girls I seen that walk around crazy? Like that's what I'm saying. Like there is just no respect. They don't even want to learn. They don't want to seek the information. Remind you, it's only one phone tap away. So why is this notion that you can't go and educate yourself about us, but you want to welcome our children into your home? And that's what we need to talk about because this is really a problem. And for example, I know that's why I talk to white people and the girls in my social work club group who are white. Remind you, these girls are descendants of white supremacists, the slave owners, right? So I talk to them and they understand where I'm coming from because we're both Americans, right? So I sit up there and I educate them about reparations. And if they have any questions, I'll answer the questions or point the right people with the direction, with the information. And now I will be pointing them to your YouTube channel. So information that they can also get educated too. And they're not against us getting reparations. Okay.
Right.
But I'm gonna make that clear. I have 12 white girls in my club, and they are not against us getting reparations. I repeat. So, with this knowledge and education and how we can reach people, I even reached a Haitian American and a Nigerian American. We said, you guys can't come to Nigeria and get all the benefits and make us second class citizens, and that wouldn't be
Right.
fair to us. So, you're right to fight for reparations, and I shouldn't have a say on that. So I made friends with a Nigerian American who agrees with us and a Haitian American that agrees with us. So I'm trying to take their children, right, who they're my age, and educate them so they
Right.
can understand it, so they don't talk down on reparations, because I'm seeing a lot of internet chat, but no real life about it. So I'm trying to bring their children in so they can understand and be an accomplices, right? And support us and understand that this is a fight for us, but you are going to have to know that you have a place. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
Exactly. And I'm very proud of her. I'm extremely proud of her. And one of the reasons why, when Morgan introduced me to her, I thought she was profound, because she walks the walk, she talks the talk and walks the walk. And that's very important to me. I don't mess with anybody who doesn't put this work in. I really don't. I have no time for it. So she has really accomplished a lot. And, you know, in lieu of, I'm saying, her personal circumstances. And she's highly intelligent, and she's very passionate, and she gives back. I think a lot of people don't give back, and giving back doesn't mean money all the time. It's about lending knowledge, lending time, lending resources. And a lot of people don't do that. So I take my hats off to her.
Absolutely. Well, I agree with everything you've said. It's an honor and a privilege to have each of you here. You've richly blessed the broadcast and my viewers. We're so grateful to you. We want you to come back and give us calls to action. We want to be as instrumental in your fight for reparations as you guys were instrumental in ours. Showing up to the hearings in the whole 9 yards over the past couple of years. Well, maybe it's been about 18 months. I've lost count. I've been at every one of them, screaming and sounding the alarm. And yes, it is very true. We do have allies out here from all sets. As I stressed prior, I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti the government's weaponization of immigration against American freedmen to keep us bottom caste.
Yes, exactly.
That's my square, and that's my fight, and that's our collective fight.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the chat?
Well, I've been trying to. They've had more comments than anything in terms of.
Thank you.
And so I've been going through and trying to find them and flashing them. I did flash that. Love My Folks said that JAYLYNN should take a peek at California's benefits for foster youth aging out. She may want to push to implement a similar model in her town. So a lot of what you see here is what I've been flashing throughout as you guys have been speaking is my co-hosts, as I call them, are in support of everything you're saying. They're in support of everything you're doing. They are so ecstatic. And they're just showing a ton of love. That's a fact. I wish we could only have inter-ethnic adoptions.
Right, and that's what I'm also trying to push that too, because how is it fair to us how the Native Americans can have their own adoption agencies where their children are supposed to be placed with someone from the tribe, but we can't place our children with people from our tribe. So I'm just confused why we can't have ethnic adoptions. And that's something I've been trying to talk about and get these other people on board, because it's just like, okay, if we can't bring our own kids, why would our kids go better with white people? You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
Talking about babies.
Totally against it.
Babies. So I don't think no baby should be going with, you know, any other ethnic group but our own. But some of us have to find the real ones that are out there. They're out there. They're a small percentage of them, but there are some that truly want to help. And it's just interesting to just see how even some white people, here's the thing, I'm gonna be honest, like I have many different ethnic groups. I live with Black Americans that were my foster parents, and that didn't go out. I lived with a white woman, that didn't go out. I lived with this other white woman, didn't go out. But I found one, and she's German, and literally, and you know, German people, those are the anti-Semitic ones. And they even agree that we should get reparations. And I'm just telling you from a standpoint where I talk to a German person every day and her grandmother. So they even say that we deserve reparations and they're anti-Semitic. So what is the issue? I don't see no issue with that. And I just want to say, like, that is the most important thing because, and also, I got connected with a woman who up in Washington, D.C., who I got connected with the other white gentleman who does anti-sanctuary city work. So I'm going to talk to her so we can fix the problem with reversing or whatever we have to do to make certain states like California, New York, and Boston and other places from being a sanctuary state and city. Because think about it, if Title 42 turns the immigrants away at the border, then there will be no states that would take them if we got rid of sanctuary states and cities because there's no place for them to go. And where there's no place to go, they have to go back home. And so my point is, I'm going to talk to this woman, see what I can do about, getting the information out, doing some anti-sanctuary state city work so we won't have to keep taking in immigrants, and it's putting a hold on our economy and our wealth. We're talking about less than $8. Okay, we don't have very much time. I don't think we have very much time. The way that the influx is looking about 8,000 over the border a day, like I can't do the math. So I just want to make a point and say that you guys just wake up, talk to your people, educate your children. Children's the biggest thing, and don't be afraid to speak up. That part,
Right?
Well,
And
I
then
think
somebody.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Somebody put in the chat about the age out. Age out in Massachusetts is 23, and that's
Yep,
better
it
than
is
the 18 years old in most states. So that gives them time to stabilize. That's one of the biggest things Massachusetts does. They extend the period of time for, acclimation and or transition.
Yes, and they actually do help with more. They will pay for your grad school. So let me wake that up. They'll pay for your grad school, and even
They
if
will.
you did age out, they'll pay for you to go to graduate school or law school. So those resources are out there at that, and they only pay for state schools. They don't pay for private schools. So that's something to know about. If you got people in the system, but I'm trying to push for them to pay for these private institutions because why schools should not be paying for us to go to private institutions, but state schools only. I just don't think that's very agreeable because these state schools are far. Like, remember, you got Dartmouth, Amherst, like that is far from here. You know what I'm saying? So they're taking us out of our community and our environment and putting us in these places where we can't afford to lose our blackness. And that's where we're losing our children. And that we got to start talking about that for real because I think it's a problem.
This has just been epic. Please don't forget to put in the chat, sweetheart, where my family can support everything you're doing for the fosters. You're absolutely correct. Out here, it's the same imbalance. And when you look at the egregious racial wealth gap, you can understand how our kids are being lost to the system. Another thing I want to stress to you is to stress to the millennials that we need them at the polls to vote for closed border and American First candidates only, party be damned. I often educate on my channel about how out here, when Trump had control over the border, our unemployment numbers for our specific lineage was 5%. We're approaching 20% in the state of California now that what I affectionately call the Democrats have a trifecta. When the Democrats have a trifecta, we're the only ones in distress. So I want us to get beyond just simply fighting for reparations. We've got to thrive long enough to even receive those direct deposits to our accounts. And at the rate we're going, we're being erased and replaced faster than we can get reparations or atonement done. You know also that there's all kinds of bills happening all over the country. Know that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. You literally have to do what we've done out here and what Antonia and Solidarity have done there. They took that project over. That's what she ended up doing. The same thing she did was what we did. We found this bill that Dr. Shirley Weber had authored and got to work on those edits and got to work on that relationship. And that's how we've got the task force with the help of Ice Cube
because he came in at the 11th hour and pushed Newsom to sign it on the very day it was to expire. So you're absolutely correct. We have to be boots on the ground at all times, as well as coming here to be politically educated. I've got over 300 videos for you guys to feast on and become educated. So with that being said, Antonia, did you have anything closing, or James, did you have anything?
No, I just want to make sure that the proper organizations get credit for it. I don't want anybody to think that they're being overlooked. So I'm going back again. Solidarity is a community engagement group. We've been in business for like 2 or 3 years now. We were together prior to COVID. So our job is to get into the community, engage with people face to face. I think this summer we did like 50 events, just anywhere where people are, we go. And I just want to make sure that people know that we collaborated with the U.S. Freedmen Project to get this particular piece done with the Boston legislation. Again, I thought it was extremely important to have the namesake of American freedmen. So that was really instrumental. So I want to shout out to the New York U.S. Freedmen Project to acknowledge them for that. Also in Boston, it was the New Democracy Coalition that I collaborated with here on the ground. Also Aziza. And I'm Saskia. Saskia works with MRCC. I just think that sometimes people don't understand that in order to get this work done, you have to collaborate with people. And so it's not necessarily always one main organization. I think a lot of people work in silos and they're afraid to collaborate, but some to get the job done. And so those are the people who I want to give credit to, that the name was lended in order to get this done. I don't want anybody to think that I'm taking the spotlight or shining from them. I was in the forefront. I got the work done, but these are people that I work with to get it done.
Well, we're grateful to
you in the chat too as well.
Could you say that one more time? I was speaking.
I put my information in the chat too as well, and then also too, I made a Black American students Instagram page for it's for college about the college process, information, also calls to action to remove these immigrant HBCU professors. Take a look at that. The call to action, the recent last call to action. And I also post a lot of information just so people can understand the process and other things too as well. So that information is also in the chat. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I'm going to copy and paste this in the comments with my people, and then I'm going to flash it on the screen. James, did you have anything in closing you'd like to add?
The most I'd say at this point is, no matter where you at, no matter what you're doing every day, no matter what's concerning your day-to-day life, you can take a moment out of your day to help push this movement even further. I would just advocate everybody continue to come out, step out, speak your truths. That's the truth will set us free, is what they've been telling us all this time, right? And I'm starting to see it come to fruition, So get out here, we're going to step Narcan and Cobra right on their noggin, and we're going to get this reparations for our people. You know what I mean?
The fight's never over.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh, no, we must lean in.
It's just beginning.
It's just beginning, because guess what? We not only have to fight for reparations, but this will be a long-standing fight for as long as we've got breath. And then we have to teach the ones coming behind us to keep up the gate. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we've got to teach them to carry the torch, because you can trust and believe that as soon as we secure it and think we can take a breath, they'll be coming full force to tether themselves and to co-opt and undermine. And the next thing you know, our reparations will be white women, LGBTQ,
wake it up,
immigrants, akin to affirmative action and civil rights. They've got the unmitigated gall to come here after our ancestors built this country with their lives. They have a greater wealth position, and now they're on Capitol Hill dismantling affirmative action federally, now that they're taken care of, akin to what they did out here. And that was a freedman out here. Ward Connerly, back in 96, created Prop 209, saying special considerations for American freedmen under affirmative action was reverse racism. And the Asians lobbed onto that.
Now they have the biggest wealth in our country. They lobbed onto Prop 209, and now our UC participation is less than 1%. Okay, and that's now they're at the Capitol. They're on the Hill, trying to do for the nation what they did to us. They've got all the wealth now, and what they're trying to do is close the door so that Boston will remain at $8 liquid and California black will remain 200 liquid. And let me tell you another reason why you need to vote closed border and American first candidates only. Because we have gone from 7 million out here to 2 million. And like I said prior, there's nowhere for us to go.
Exactly. That's the scary thing.
Economically, it's not like you can pick up and move even across the country. You need a good 10 to 15 to 20,000 just to uproot your life from where you currently are. And with this wealth position, we can't afford to move because the national median home price is upward of 500,000. So you can't even qualify for a home loan. And as Antonia intimated earlier, you can't even afford rent because if rent is $3,900 and you got to come up with 3 times that, but your national median income is 40,000, you are ass out and you are headed for homelessness.
Exactly.
Of American freedmen throughout the country. The majority of our people is one paycheck from being homeless.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And then with with the moratorium lifting for COVID, because see these things, the dissipations and disparities were there before COVID. COVID just unveiled them. So they used COVID to springboard the gentrification. So there's a lot of tenants, because I worked for 211 before I went to when I was in Connecticut, that were paying rent. Let's just say, because Connecticut's really low paying rent. They think the rent's expensive, but in comparison to Boston and New York. So I had people to call me like, Antonia, my rent was $800 in 2020, now $850, now it's $1,500. And then if I don't sign this lease, it's called lapse of time, and the judge will evict me. So people are being evicted for having their rents increased like 20, 50%. Not that they weren't paying the rent, it's because the new rent is so high that they're scared to sign the lease. And if they don't do it in a timely fashion, judges are evicting them for lapse of time. And it's just really egregious. So, I mean, James can tell you in Connecticut, and I'm quite sure it's everywhere else. It's just out of control what the expectation is for those who, the American freedmen who are already behind the scene and behind the 8 ball, who are missing that, the wealth gap, but what we're being expected to do to live. And so that just puts people in very desperate situations.
And I think, one segment that me and you can do, Miss Angela, is how to get young voters at the poll. Please, let's do a segment on that, because if we can't give our, children the knowledge of how we've been affected by mass immigration since they came, and what our history means and how we're different with delineation, because we can't get these children to vote for American First in the borders closed if they don't even have that information.
They don't have the information.
And I'm telling you, I'm Generation Z. So, hello. Like,
you're Gen Z.
Yeah, I'm Gen Z. So basically, it's just like when I feel all of how the youth are not connected, because I'm not connected with like some of them when we talk about mentally, because a lot of them are just at a different place and they are finding who they really are, and they just need someone to guide them. And so that's why I try to, seek the help and guide any way that I can. I still help with my girls basketball team from high school. I just supported those girls. I made sure they got everything they need. Like, there's been times where I took them under my wing with no problems, did everything I can. So I love our sport and keep them in sports. They don't need to be in the streets. And parents, please know where your kids are. That's important. Please know where they are at all times. Check the phone, call the phone 24/7, dial. Are you there? Like, just please make sure your babies are home, because you want to keep them safe. A lot of the immigrants mixed in with a little bit of us, the youth, are doing the violence out in the streets, and we need to address that, and we need to make sure we know where our children are at all times, because bodies are dropping here, right, Miss Antonia? Bodies are just dropping.
They are. So I just want to make this disclosure, because I mean, I'm really firm on this. We have got to focus on us. We got to focus on American freedmen. We have to focus on how to get people more educational and civically engaged. We just have to do it. You know what I'm saying? And so all this other stuff to me is distraction. And I'm just being perfectly honest with you. We are so far behind the 8 ball. We haven't done anything significant since civil rights movement. That's 55 years ago. I'm 56. So that's a long time for us to have been rocked to sleep. And so we're just waking up. There's a lot of people that are just waking up. We just want to make sure the resources are there for them. But we have got to get it together because there's so many infiltrators. There's so many attacks against us that we're not seeing it because we're not engaged civically, legislationally, and educational. And that's what I really want for us. And I'm just being honest with you.
Well, I thank you. And JAYLYNN, please be in touch with me. You've got my email, and Antonia can give you my phone number.
Yes.
And James, I just text you, so you should have my phone number on lock. And let's continue to keep each other informed. I will stream when you guys have your hearings, and I'll get the numbers, and all of that out to the people so we can call in and be as supportive to your reparations fight as you've been to Californians.
Thank you. We'll keep you updated. I'm saying again, the next thing that on our task is the event on the 7th. We'll get the flyers out. We'll keep everybody abreast.
Get everything to me. Keep me apprised so I can keep our people apprised, because I've got about 50 orgs that I'm working with.
Sure.
And so I can push that information out. Some of them may actually be where you are. And this is the way for us to stay connected and get this work done collectively.
Right.
Thank you.
And so we just want to share our information and collaborate. Yes. In order for to get this done, we have to collaborate across the nation. And one more thing. We're revving up for the Juneteenth rally. It's going to be in DC. That information will be provided really soon. So we're trying to get everybody to get on board and celebrate Juneteenth actually at DC and rally for reparations. And so that stuff will be provided. Thank you.
Please, please, please keep me posted, my dears.
Thank you. Thank you, JAYLYNN. Thank you, James.
So much to each
and thank you,
one of you.
I really appreciate
your presence here. We are so grateful to have had you, and we can't wait for you to return.
Thank you. I'll keep you posted. Thank you, everybody.
Please do.
Have a good evening. Thank you for listening. Contact us for anything.
Having us.
Okay?
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Peace.
Peace. Peace. Well, family, that was epic. I hope you feel full, because I sure do. I tried to flash your comments as we went along. If I missed any, please forgive me in advance. We've been at it for 2 hours, and I want to stop the broadcast because, hold on, reparations can't be stopped. It's our time. Bless you all. Yes, 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 Brian Barner, BB Rodriguez, Renee LaRock. Y'all know I got to give y'all a shout out. Satra Del Reed 360, Gwen XOXO, Era, Love My Folks, Naturally Out. Oh, I'm so richly blessed over here to have my co-host keeping it lit, as always. Derek, I see you, family. Diane Scott. I'm scrolling. Make sure I don't leave no one out. I think The Rock was in here. Nicey L, Kinky Curly Straight. Y'all in the building. Ren 11B Airborne. Let's see here. I'm scrolling. Heesh WWP. Okay, I think I got everybody that were my co-hosts tonight in the chat, keeping it so lit. Oh, family, that was a lot. I'm going to reach out to the U.S. Freedmen Project to get them on next about what's happening in New York with their reparations fight. And so stay tuned for that broadcast. It will be advertised as always. I just am really full. I don't really have a lot to add to that very, very rich exchange with solidarity, fighting for our repair in Boston. Very much needed. Please, 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 if you want to get involved in this movement, Gmail me at therepperspect
at Gmail. It's scrolling in the bar below, and it's also in the description bar of this broadcast. And I can put you in touch with the people who are legitimately fighting for our repair. With that being said, family, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Freedmen and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are the voice of God, the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. If no one's told you today how much they love you, know that I love you, Black family, and Freedmen Strong. Yes, I do. And until we meet again for another segment of As the World of Freedmen Turns, I want you to make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening. I'm going to try to be back over here on Sunday. I still have to get into my broadcast about how Joe Crow recently weaponized our Holocaust to give $55 billion to Africa. You know I must go in, and I've got a litany of other current events I choose to weaponize to keep our foot on the gas. And until next time, family, you make it a beautiful, oh, I don't know if I'm coming on Sunday. That's Christmas. Monday. Oh my gosh. I want you guys to have the most extraordinary Merry Christmas that you can. I don't know, Merry Buddha, Merry whatever it is you're into, Merry Hebrew Israelite. I want you to really, really connect with your inner fill in the blank on Sunday and just be full of merriment. It doesn't have to be about the white indoctrination and commercialization of what Christmas has come to represent in this country. It can strictly be about showing extra love and letting your Christ light, your Buddha light, your Hebrew Israelite light, your Islam light, your Muslim light, emanate on Christmas Day. Whatever you choose to do with that occasion, may it deeply enrich you and everyone you touch. Let your energy spill out and onto everyone in your fold, friends and family alike, because I am going to have an extraordinary time, because I always do. I love the holidays. With that being said, family, I probably won't see you until Monday, but you never know. Stay tuned. Y'all know I like to be breaking news and coming on at odd, bizarre hours. And I thank you, co-host, for always rolling with your sister and being there wherever I sound the alarm and whenever I sound it. You guys are so appreciated. Until next time, family, I'm believing for each and every one of us a ton of peace, love, and reparations, family. Peace. I'm out.